especially people looking around me, except I would believe, a lot of it was, from, neglecting, myself, not eating right, the restrictions I was on. One of, my, flaws, under stress is, my appetite is superior, and, I will push food away. I let my stomach ground, I let it burn. Yeah, I can drink me some water or drink me something, but, I would neglect myself in every way. I would, not sleep right, just the stress of it all. Cause overthinking, repetitive thinking, either, how, something about how I'm figure this out, or what am I do about it. And I just know that, I was with my brother, and, I wasn't feeling well, and when I got home, I told him, I was feeling well, just let me get in the house, go lay down. And I walked in my door and turned to my room. Okay. That right there is, what my stuff is, because it's got to be found. And I'm not saying this kind of stuff, but I think a lot of, personally, parents should not down that and realize that we're following it all. Not even advice, not any kind of fun. That's what it's done right now. Once again, we did experience, not when the, medical emergency, my daughter, when the ambulance came to the meeting, and, once again, I was grateful for what I was doing. And, when I was going through the therapy, going through the neurology, and you having to, deal with the weakness of my right limb, medication, and, things like that. Again, it was just about how, neglecting myself. That's a big point in a lot of this, as individuals, it's just not women, any individual, that, handle things the way I do, as far as neglecting myself, learning to just love myself, always looking, if it's from my sons and daughters, husband or wife, or, the love of God, and, the inspiration of, how to love myself. I mean, that's what this word is about. Yeah. It's inspiring us, instructing us to love ourselves. And other things, follow. It's one of the greatest examples, just starting with ourselves. Really. It's just so much that we should just do and know to do and treat for ourselves. They don't even come in work. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes, me. I'm gonna say this before you go. So I think this is what, Book of Isaiah chapter 61 talks about, saying beauty for ashes. Because to me, you could have never told me the story. You do not look like anything that you told us. So I can thank God that because even your spirit is good. So when I feel like the fact that you said that you had to inventory yourself, which is beautiful. And I already talked about the people who have been in solitary confinement, how they so having mental issues. So I just think God has given you grief for ashes. The story is so amazing. I'm glad and sure that you do not look like what you told us. And also when you were telling me about loving yourself, I really got that. I really got that's what it was, because you were neglecting yourself as a result of everything else you had been, like everybody else had neglected you, your own mother. And so it really opened my eyes with your story of how when you see people, they have different attitudes and moods, and that there's something internally going on. So I really appreciate the story. It was so beautiful. It blessed me. So thank you. Like that.
I'm to a perfect.
As far as when you were sharing your anger was misunderstood,
And the dog with the fire, yeah, yeah, I would be told that. Yeah, so just kind of piggyback off of that, it's a reminder for me to see with grace. I think it's easy in our humanity to take offense and hold on to it and kind of judge the person. But we never know what somebody is going through. And so when we talk about things that we struggle with and we might be snappy or have an attitude and we don't mean it, but it just reminds me like in moments where it's hard, just to depend on God and say, you know what, in my flesh and in my humanity, but Lord, you know what your child is going through, and I do not, which is help me to pray for them instead, or help me to ask them if there a way for me to help you, or just help me to hold my tongue, whatever it is. It just makes sense. But, anyone else before we move on to example of Christie? Well, I would say this as being a sister, you know, it was hard for all of us because I think when you went out 12, well, she was 19. And I tell you what, boy, what do I have to say about the growing up? You know, I was always I was a nag, I was a little brat. I really was. Was? Oh, I'm sorry. Little brat, full of stuff. They had the most. That's why a lot of stuff that my like working through, you know, her, I know stuff I didn't know. I just learned about it maybe a month or 2 months ago. She shared because I heard, but when she shared, I was like, y'all mean that? What? Because I couldn't even imagine to do something like that bold, but I wasn't around my mother and my dad. She was around my mom and my dad, so my dad, oh my God, he was a hippie. So he was out the chain. So she picked up a lot of stuff from, you know, learning from them. But when we were little, like, I'll never forget a push bomb, my first catch match. Dog. Yes, I love that dog. Matter of fact, my cousin came up with Boris, never got it back. Remember, we used to have them catch match dog, take a picture of them. And so then I was, you know, playing with my little boy. What's that? All these shoes. And I got some fingernail polish and number I was due. All of her shoes. Now you would have thought that she would have been like upset because what speak something and read the polish. Yes. And she just smiled and then I remember I got this on the van. She gave me, I still have a shirt and I'm Angie on the back of it. That was top of the back. Yeah, yeah, it was me and Rose. I have another sister, she's the company, she hadn't come, it was me and Rose, and she bought myself, her and Rose a shirt, so we really sport this little shirt. You should see how cool guy, of course I can't get it, because I'm Asian. And, but I hold on to that shirt, as a matter of fact, and she was like, I can't believe you still have it. And I did. Yeah, I thought that, you know, of course, is a very humble person regardless. But, you know, back then, she would go from 0 to 100 in a minute. So I thank God, I learned a lot from fortune and stuff like that, and I thank God she was a really, really good big sister, because she always was out there. So. Before she comes, anybody know before her? Well, this time and then I was sort of old. So I was very particular on my. So being away from the house was great, because I was, you know, if they was getting kicked out and things like that. I would look a bird monster and, you know, and they presented their business there. We didn't have our parents. And so, we would have to deal with other family and everything, which would put us a lot of times in a conflict situation. It was just young person. And in high school, like I said earlier, raising with my great grandmother instructor, I was a kid and they track and they cheerleader. My mom would teach them stuff, but I would make these things and didn't have support. So once again, I was angry, telling me that, eat my uniform, when they came, going to the game. They freshman cheerleader, nobody, showed up for me. So I would actually do a lot of my own paperwork. It's not that easy anymore, but I would fill out my own paperwork. We live in Dunmore area, I didn't want to go to Dunmore. I feel my paperwork out of Trump Tech. So I started out in Bulldog. I ended up being made, because Dunmore anyway. Oh, not crying, oh, not. Nothing against Dunmore, why I can't, I don't know why I can't, we you, I love that, so, yeah, nothing against it, it was just my life, and a lot of people that know what I was going. It wasn't that easy to share. And you have to throw them in the head. And I just say, my mama, don't tell me. Well, I said, they don't know me. I said, mama, they don't know about you. Right? Yeah, I get the same thing. With my prayer boy. I get it, I like, I'm not going to come and something that do. I talk to my kids, where to go. That's it. So, I get no like this, that's right. Yeah, because I don't change. Because I would say, certain things, certain people, that's what they hear, doing that, and I stopped doing. I started saying, it would have been scared, it would have been private, you wouldn't have been there. Yeah. Well, you have to be a girl and a teenager and all that, right? I mean, you're real, that's true. So I thought maybe that. Yeah. Whatever it's saying, I mean, oh, that's a lot. That's true. I do know that I was proud of it. Everything that I was gonna get okay, she here, I mean, is that right? You read? So, yeah, I'm like, okay. Oh, did I have it on one? Okay. Oh, well, then, okay, I'm. Oh, yeah. Well, and right back, it wasn't staying longer. Staying longer. Oh, yeah, I have contact to this day, with a lot of this, that I would incorporate. Most of the ones that, I end up with longevity with it, take way more time. I just recently lost, a lady, Shirley Young, I think she did right here. She just passed away. You won't believe what that man did. With the guard, I mean, that's brutal. You got kind of have what, and then the guys don't go police. Well, that was a lot, it's like, it's still going on. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, so we're gonna talk about the 60s. Okay. I looked at that. We're done. Mine is, segregation.
All right, that's a good one.
But
we had to go to the back door,
Wow.
and, we had to go to restaurants, we had to go to the back. It's fountains, the colored fountains, white fountains, and I went one time, and the kids, I think, there was a job, and they said that they don't have, we don't take it over. Stop that. And that could be due to a lot of things because of their age. But you know, they did everything. But the night one, and I like that. They did everything. But back there, it was getting pretty bad. But, you know, long as you painting, doing painting, stuff like that. Then we went home now. Got it.
Flag.
Okay. Anyway, when so I had to have children, I got pregnant with him. And so when I started, and I started working at my hospital. And everything was not heard. But no, everybody was never paid. No, generally, like me, I was. And so they sent me to school for training. So when I started, and then when they did open up, we went to work at hospital. I mean, it was something, you know, the nurses, the RNs, when you, I mean, if you sit down, they want you to get up. Like, sit. I told one, no, I'm not gonna do it. Did you ever, I mean, us, you know, where we not that face, it was what, so I'm not gonna move, but she said, but when we walk in, down, I said, I'm tired. At that time, my boss was about his friend. Wow. Then, one little girl, she asked me, do you mind if and she asked me, what would you like to be called? Would you like to be called a color? Would you like to be called a color? And I said, I'm sure that you asked. So this is what I'm gonna tell you. What would you like to be called? A white kid? I said, so because I'm telling you right now, I'm not Afro-American, I'm black. I said, so if that's how I want you to understand it. And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, I'm telling you now, this is, I am black, my color. And I said, and you don't want to be called white kid. So you're white. So that's what we're gonna do back there. It was bad, I mean, especially trying to get them in. I hope y'all remember, the store, the department store down there, we couldn't even go in the front door. Well, where it was, we had to go to sit in the base. We went there.
I don't know no life like that.
Yeah, the base.
No, baby.
Yeah. We had to sit in, you know, we had to go downstairs, okay? And like I said, we had to go through that door, then the front door. And then they had this big Piccadilly, restaurant downtown. That I was going to, but we could go there, hey, but we couldn't go to the door. And that's how bad it was. Yeah, that's when they was hanging blacks. Downtown. That there, you know, just to show example. Oh, that time. So that got me even forward. And then when we had to go to the country, we were here, we had to go get cotton, you know, because that's where they live there. And it was not just they did have the everything land. Bomb ticket. And that was dead in the country. Y'all ever heard of bomb ticket? The devil dead in the country. And so when we had to go there, we had to go get on that truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, and go up and pick cotton, you know, and stay out there 5 o'clock until that evening with those poker bags. That's what I used to put them in, still, it seemed like it's full of them. They had those popular stoves back there then. They had the air house and they had the kerosene lamp. I mean, it was, country, I kind of like it. My grandmother had a farm, she had chickens, stuff like that. But it was still bad, so we had to still walk everywhere when we went to the country, found us to their street, and they didn't have buses there. And we couldn't get cab and things like that. So back there again, during that time, it was, and especially if we had to go buses, took back. And then somebody, why them, then we had to get up and get up. Yeah, I got a question. I had to do it. I had to do it. Because of the way we had it. You did it like that. Because if you got out, then you were trying to do anything else, then you think like, put you in the other picture. So back there when that time, that's what we get. Did we like them? Oh, no. But you know what? Once we're out of there, it's because there's a lot of really serious stuff back there. And that was way back there, they did. But so, me, I know we don't got that. That's actually start there. Because we all go to the season, we all go good times, back there. That was that kind of thing space. It was killing, it was breathing, and that's I would think. Any more questions?
Part, but in here for movement without change. We can see where we're at today, we see about the ideology, what change it looks like then. Did you ever imagine that it would look like how it is now? Did it feel old? It's like it's changing.
You know what? Now, some of them, some of them still, have that like that kind of feel. How they would be, how they would pop that, and then how they were sold, and the family was sold and separated from their wife and the kids and stuff like that. And then how the now, they used to take these women and impregnate them. So it was really bad, but no, I think it was definitely what they did. And I'm not saying anybody else. I think that I see it for me. But it was back in the next people get back to me. That time I was out in the streets. I was ripping and running. I was going from this man to that man. I was smoking weed. Back then with that time, that's what they did, flower kids. We did all of that. I fought for kids. But no, I wasn't saying that really. I didn't get saved. I did a lot of money, a lot of things I love. I also too. Still, try to steal my kids back there. Because back at the end of that time, I went to work. Back then, he used to, probably all kinds of names. He used to downgrade everything. But I know that I'm not going to tell my family. So I took it. And so when you're young, you're like, playing that. But I'm not young, that's what we got. But they thought I performed everything. So back then, I'm going to do a lot of things, to people and then God took me from fear and took me to out of my mother kept me at home. And that's why we got no attention. Like when we were in the league, but then that's what he did news because I went to the house and he allowed me to stay there. And when I got there, they would come back to their job and I contemplated on. But I was so young, and didn't know anybody could do that kind of stuff. I was playing too. And because I don't get it, But it was a lady stayed in school, you know, she came into my life in black, this lady was black. She was one, and every time I see one, she was telling me, because she was one with God.
Yeah.
And she would tell me this, and I would say, I mean, I wouldn't say it was her, and so when she said that, you know, it was her, and it was a lady free, and I said, I can do it. Because he gave me and changed what me around. I mean, I let go of everything. I wanted nothing but him and his love. And every single thing, he has opened up my world to everything. I didn't think that I would ever stand in the power of people. You know, I used to do a volunteer conversion home, and I loved it. I used to go to the house with big home, and then I get a group out of the he has opened up a lot of things. And then love and prayer. Because if I hadn't even opened the heart of my heart, a door to that, not only had, I let him come in, he never the next one. And I love. Yeah.
Or an unbeliever, or maybe even a believer, I recommend. But going through an error like that, and then Jesus were still maybe you accepting him. Someone who may wrestle with that kind of struggle, like the question, like, well, if God is so loving, why would he allow something like slavery? Or if God is so loving, why would he allow that kind of suffering or that level of suffering? Share with them.
What I was getting up for now, and we stay in time, we are. He's not. I like to tell him that God is real, because he's real to me. And I know that I wasn't a believer back there then. I knew of him, but I didn't have a relationship. And that relationship came, but I surely turned on my life. Right. So I like to tell these young people down that, you know, that God is real and he does nothing. Because he showed me, and he showed me how much he loved me. I mean, when I remember that from him, he showed me everything. And I know that everything that we go through there, God allows it to happen. He back there with it and explained it to him. He allowed all of that stuff to happen for reasons. So it's nothing that he don't know about. And since I've been reading the book of Job, I'm finding out more and more that God allowed these things to happen for reasons and purpose and plan. And we have got, and that's why I say that, and that's why I keep doing. Read the book of Job. Because Job went through a lot of things. And he never turned his back on God. All the things that he went through, he lost everything, but he didn't lose his love for God. That's what I would tell these young people today, because that's what they need to know. I have kids now that I wish they would give themselves. I got two sons and a daughter, but all I want to now is like give that, pray the prayer, faith up and believe. And asking my Lord, however you work this out, you are in control of the situation, not me. And it's love. That's all I have to do. Because it's powerful about love. I mean, when I say I got love. And
Our Father said the most powerful thing is love. And what we do know is he's love. And boy, toxicity, dysfunction, wrongdoing, choices, that's all about the man and the woman. You understand? That's how. And flesh
We are
and,
live recording
having the ability
with Sister
to make it for the
Angela
other way,
Nation. We're in
you know,
Fort Texas. And we are
and
talking
being
about
creative,
so far, we're talking about segregation. So
that's
we're
what,
talking
yeah.
about young lady being in prison. So this is amazing. This is the blessing. God bless you, Dr. Eliza. Thank you for showing it. Sure. Thank you all. So share, share, share. This is live, right on lives. Oh, just come with us here.
Mama, do if we want to go back to Adam and Eve. If I say, oh, down there, down that tree. So I'm saying, Adam blamed Eve, oh, you made it, mama. Eve blamed, I mean, the devil, you know, the whole thing, the devil made him do this. But once again, we talk about accountability, the word, you need about being accountable. It's being about being obedient.
That's what it comes back.
You know, it's good.
Give up, exactly. But it's now, they have to understand, everything we do, we're gonna be accountable. But when we go and stand before him, we're gonna have to be accountable for it's not what our kids did, but you know, what we did. So I just wanna let you know that, I mean, God is good. And he has nothing but love.
That's
And everything, you know, people bring God for this, they bring God for this, and in the Bible, it says, that's what we have to do. We have to examine ourselves when we do this, when we do that, and when we get out of good with God. So this is what I would tell young people, that God is real. He's, and also still giving us a chance and to give it right. That's why he loves us so much that you know that he's flying on the things that we do. And so he just standing back, waiting on us because he has taken his being out and made it wrong. That's what he has done. And that man one man. And that's what man is doing. Man is destroying. Not God. And he just still gives us time to get right in question. You like it out.
My mom, told a story from the very beginning when I was thinking about it, she was first asked to leave and live with her children, be my brother. So this probably he victim. All that to be.
That's true. That's why that's very.
One more, we have, Miss Christie. Chris is gonna share with, church her. Bear with us, she has a great bag.
So Angie, I reached out yesterday and asked her to share memories and like immediately as she was talking, I asked her, you know, what is the vision or the heart and kind of what she wants
So now we're talking about church hurt, okay?
from it. And immediately as she was kind of sharing her vision, my memory line was church hurt and just like an experience of not, kind of goes right in line with what they're talking about, but, experiencing church hurt and being angry at God and disappointed because I really felt that it's something that a lot of people at some point, even just anger, disappointment with God and now realize that even in the moment that God is for good and his intentions of his heart are good and loving. But I think that a lot of people can relate because you feel a lot of shame and guilt around when you experience things that you don't understand. When you are a believer, everybody's kind of like, forget it. You know, and like, it's kind of like all this religious aspect of how you're supposed to navigate real, like, grief and disappointment. And it's, and I think that, like I was sharing with somebody a little bit of my testimony, like I have been through like a lot. Like I moved to Texas from Minnesota in 2013 as a young mom. I had a 7 and a 9-year-old. But I was like on fire for God. So I was like, I knew God had called me to Texas. I didn't know anyone in Texas, and but I knew like my faith had always been so strong. Like people had always spoken over me, like you have a Joshua anointing. And I always just felt like no matter what happened or what I experienced, I always trusted God. And I always believed God. So when I went through this experience, it was so confusing because I'm like, I'm not supposed to feel hurt by God or in the house of God. And so I think sometimes we have like those, and then we're not necessarily taught, like, how do you navigate and walk with that? So you have expectations of religious leaders and churches to handle things in the way that we feel that they should be handled. And I think it's really hard too, because what ended up happening with my daughter was sexually abused in the church. And I was like leading ministry in a big mega church. I'm like, when you mention sexual abuse in the church, people do not say, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Or really, you're not met with a lot of compassion. It's kind of either awkwardness or like people don't like people are just humans too. But for the person navigating it, you think that's not supposed to happen there. And you expect a particular type of response. So I'm like, when I moved to Texas, like I've always been a very strong person. Just like I moved here because God called me here. I have been through like a lot of like childhood abuse and just like abandonment. I was adopted, abandoned by my evicted mother and formally adopted by parents that were pretty abusive and stuff. But I was always just like very strong, very overcoming. So by the time I had my 2 girls and I was moving to Texas, like I said, I was on fire for God, and I was excited, like, I'm moving to Taco Bell. You know, and so I actually, I moved here in 2013, and I got connected to like one of the biggest churches in Utah. And in a very short period of time, like, I was teaching and leading groups of like 200-300 people, and I was kind of like in that journey too, so I never felt really like well, you know, but because also like there was a deep longing and desire for family, and like, you know, this church was like me and my daughter's whole community, like they were our family. These pastors were like fathers. So this event happened like in April of 2018, and like I was teaching, I met Angie teaching a curriculum that I had wrote, and I had originally written it and was teaching it in this church for like 300 single parents. And my pastor, like a week before I found out what had happened, he was like, "Christy, this is so powerful, like your anointing and calling is too big for this or this house." He's like, "I have to figure out, you know, how to get this out here." Well, God did that. Figure that out real quick. But so it's just like, and sorry, like the 2017, the year before that. So leading this class, I started teaching in January of 2018, and it ran through April of 2018. In 2017, like every year I prayed, like, what is the word for this year? 2017, it was like the word was mirror. So like I'm coming out of this, like I'm following and everything wonderful. I'm pursuing my purpose. And in December of 2017, I go to the women's conference, and this woman at the end of it was leading me. She like, "I want you to stay after this. God has a word for you. I've been feeling it all night or whatever." And so she's praying for me. And all I remember from the whole prayer, she said, "God's about to stretch you quick." And I'm like, I don't want no more students, no more waiting. But I knew when she said it, and I was coming off the high of this, like, getting our body coming together. And just like, this experience. Just like, extremely excited. And just like, so, but I knew, like, God was telling me just to prepare for whatever was, kind of coming next. Like, I just moved that, but I try to like avoid it. But, so like this ended up happening at the end of April 2018. And like, my daughter comes and tells me that this poor woman happened, she's like, well, I told the church, but they didn't do it. So she had actually reported it to the church before she reported it to me. So I immediately go to the church and I'm like, I'm not even honestly angry. Like, when I'm going to them, I'm like, these people are my family, like, they're gonna do the right thing. Even though I'm bad as a mother, but I'm like, surely there must be some mistake, like this, there has to be some kind of mistake, and I just, want you to know what my daughter said, and I'm just looking at right thing, and nobody denied that it happened, but it was all of a sudden this big cover up of like, yeah, and it was just, I got kicked out of ministry, and it was like this huge domino effect. Like, one thing, like, the enemy just yanked the rug out from under us. Like, there were even, women from the church who saw, that worked for the church, that saw what was going on, and they're like, wow, it's breaking for you, I don't understand why this is happening. And so, and it was just like, all of a sudden, the community around us came kind of like crashing down, and it was like I got this ministry plan from the church, and it was written out like, you need to walk through this with humility, honor, and trust for the leaders that God has put above you. And if anything like that you think or say, like they wrote this out and gave it, and it was like, if anything you think or say doesn't line up with like the way that we feel you should be perceiving this experience, like, we're gonna report it to these 10 other people. It was just a really bad experience. So because of this, like, I'm a very strong person, and I respectfully, I mean, I even had other people that were coming into the meetings, like with, the executive elders and leader were talking about, like, this is being handled wrong. I'm like, this is a requirement with, like, I knew this happened. Not only did you not report it to the police, you did it for me. And I'm just like, this is wrong. My daughter was on the left time too, so she was very little. My daughter had never spent the night anywhere. Like, I was very protective of her. So one, it was already hard because it's like, you don't want something awful like this to happen in the way that it was responded to. So there was all of that. It's not really about just that situation that happened. Like I said, it was a domino effect of like just the camera like over your head, like a level of spiritual warfare I had never experienced. So after that, it was just like my daughter, because of the way that it impacted her, part of our 20. So it was like something I was praying for, that like, I'm a single mother, I want my kids in an environment, where it's covered and whatever. So I had prayed for them to be put in private school, that put them in private school, like all the situation got away. And then as a result of the impact of the abuse and all the trauma she was going through, they were like, hey, we know she's going through a really tough time, but we just can't handle that in this environment. So they kicked my kids out of private school. Wow. And then as a result of them getting kicked out of private school and the abuse in general that happened, my daughter's father, who lived in another state, opened up a custody case. So I ended up like praying, I ended up, bringing like a lawsuit against the church and the individual who did that, and I had a custody case going on. There's like 4 or 5 cases, which anyone at the time for one person is just too much. Yeah. So it was just, and then all of this is happening. I'm still trying to push forward and I get COVID. And I'm like a young, like healthy, like was running, 50 miles a week, like even when I went into the ER, like the ER doctor was like, you're young, you're having no way back. But I ended up getting like serious COVID pneumonia, probably because of all the stress that I was under. And that's one thing that I really learned is just the weight of like us thinking as women that like we're so strong, take it off. And it was just like, I never experienced it. Like I got COVID so bad. I remember being in my room one night because I was a single mom and nobody can come into your house. It was like early on when it first happened. Like I had friends that were like walking around my block praying and leaving things at our door. But I remember that it was like my girls were in their room and were separated because I can't like be with them. And I was just like it hurts so bad to breathe. Like I'm like gasping for air and I'm like, I prayed and I was just like, I need to just take it. Like, because it's just too much. And I was like, kind of terrified too at the time, but it was just like, what I want my daughters to come in and like find me here, whatever. I just felt like this is just too much for. And it just kept feeling like it was, again, just like one thing after another. I ended up losing my job. So it was just like, almost like a Job story. Like, where you're just like, Lord. But when Angie asked me to share, I was crying, but like, and even as I was driving, I was crying. I was listening to worship music. But it's really not that my tears come from the pain and the heartache and the disappointment and the betrayal of everything I experienced. It really is like what they were talking about with like the goodness of God. And like how, like in that moment with the church hurt and the way the church reacted, like it really took me to a dark place because like I said, I've always been so confident in God that I thought, how could a whole church behave this way and have no fear of God? And I'm like, if they have no fear and they know that like there's lying and inflation, cover up and just like there's no concern or compassion. I'm like, maybe they know the Bible better than me. Maybe they know it's just biblical. Maybe they know you're not real. But it was like through that moment that God said, like told me and showed me like I can handle anger. Like I can handle your pain. I can handle it. Like bring all the disappointment to me because it hurts me too. Like God literally sat with me and was like that what they were just saying, like this is not my will. Like this is not my intention. Like yes, there are evil things and evil situations and evil events happen, but it's not because God wanted it to happen. And he's like, I love like, and I love you, I love your daughters, because I really felt like, God, how did you let this happen to my daughter while I'm serving? I'm serving when you were supposed to protect, And like, it was just, I literally, for the first time in my life, like read through the whole Bible. And some nights I would just like sit and soak in worship, even when I didn't want to. Like, there were real moments where I was like mad at God, but I still I know that there has been nobody else in my life that has never failed me. And I know no matter what, like when I felt in my darkest places, you have been the one who has always showed up. You have always come through for me. You have always been faithful, and it cannot change that because I don't understand. And so I just really feel like in that moment, God was like, you can give me all your anger and your disappointment. Like God wants us to be honest. And I think sometimes like we are just rushed to feel like in church and religion, like we're supposed to just hurry up and forget, hurry up and forget, hurry up and act as if this didn't hurt and it didn't matter. I'm like, no, this hurt me. Like this disappointed me. And so he's like, I can handle this. All on the other side of this. Like, there were times, through this journey that I'm like, I know God speaks to me and I hear his voice. And like, I would ask God, should I really be still pursuing this case? Like, is it the right thing to do? And he gave me 1 Samuel 37, like when David was asking, like, there's this bandit of
Should
people.
I
like,
do a recover? Do and recover.
for you. And he just kept giving me these promises of things, like my friends and prayer warriors, they know I've been praying, and I don't know why, like, I didn't really know this scripture, but God put it in my heart. He gives me things to explain, and he literally brings them to pass. So like 5 years before this happened, he's like, I'm the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And I'm like, God about to bring the wealth of the wicked into my hand. And I didn't really think in terms of like financial wealth. But then the Lord kept giving it to me. God, like, there has been wickedness in the land and things and ways in which organizations have used things in a way that is not how God intended it. I feel like I have stored up the wealth of the wicked, and I have to redistribute it into the hands of the righteous so it can be used amongst my people in a way that I intended it to be. And it's like, he just kept giving me these, like, I'm gonna give you a home, and it's gonna be painful. And I'm gonna make the enemy pay for everything that you have suffered. Like, like, he just kept telling me, like, the enemy's gonna have to pay, the enemy is gonna have to restore. I cannot make this up. When I tell you, like, I was just in my car crying this morning, thinking about this, because I'm like, I am sitting in a season of being overwhelmed by the blessings of God. When I look back and I'm like, God, you knew what you were doing, and it's just like you trusted me to trust you. You trusted me to allow this because you knew you had so much bigger things you were trying to get in my hands for the bigger purpose and the impact of other lives. Like that Genesis, like it says something about 50 of like something about God allowing this for like about Joseph. Joseph's story is like for the sake
But the
of
devil
his life.
meant to
But like even I was sharing, I met Angie because her daughter and I went to church together, and I was teaching this curriculum, and then I have a privilege. So I was just sharing that out of this, like in the middle of getting kicked out of like leadership in the church, and I'm devastated, I'm heartbroken, I don't even want to serve God. And I have a group of friends that are going in to lead worship in a prison, and they're like, will you share your story? And I'm like, no. Like, share my story is not working. No, I just wanted to like run away. Like, I was like, God knows me so much that even when I am like completely broken, I will do what he asks me to do. Even when it doesn't, even when I'm like, even when it hurts, even when I can't see what he's doing, I'm like, God knows that I'm gonna obey him. And so like I went in there and I shared my story as a mother of a child who had been sexually abused. And literally I just looked at it like, oh, this line of men came up to me, and the chaplain and it was like, I want all the SOs, and I didn't know that meant sex offenders, but she was like, I want all the SOs to come up and pray over this mother and her daughter. And so it was like the upside down kingdom of God, that he took me to the place where God did the same of this is the one that he used to reform, not necessarily the church. And like God is that just like the wealth of the wicked, like you see people from the back, people be the front, they got kingdom is really so upside down, and the people that felt overlooked and abandoned and forgotten and trampled over, like God is reversing things like in this season. So I ended up starting a prison ministry, and I named this curriculum now Restoring Love. Because I feel like that's what God did in my life. The power of God's love is the thing that heals, that breaks chains, that like turns things around. And so when I was saying that I'm like sitting now in a moment and a season of God like totally taking and restoring everything, like when there's just been like, every single one of those court cases, like, ended in a massive settlement. Like, even the court case against my girl's dad tried to like, take my kids, I ended up getting full custody, and he ended up like having to pay me $100,000. Lord, I was like, God, do you just want me to get my kids? Like, maybe I'm like, have too much going on, maybe they'll be better, I've raised them all this time, maybe they need some time with their dad, and God, I'm saying, first, keep fighting, don't give up, you will surely recover all. When I said I lost my job, my daughter called me crying. I had looked at over 250 houses, and I had a contract for my home in my hand. And I was literally about to sign it when I lost my job. Like, I found out that day I was losing my job, and I'm like, yeah, like, and God was telling me, like, sign the contract. I'm like, God, this is ridiculous. Like, who signed the contract? Who signed the contract for a year-long job? My daughter called me telling me she was pregnant with this little blessing. And she, like, I was the first person that she called, and she just broke down in tears. And because of where she was in her life at the time, she's like crying hysterically. She can't even tell me. And I'm like, honey, what's going on? Either you're going to jail or you're pregnant. I was that over our break stuff, but I said, and at this point, I will take a baby. So tell me. And she was like, what? And she was like, what? That's what you know, you touch her. Thank you. Yeah. You with me, on your neck. You fly. So.
Walk the body. Yeah, you can finish talking, because they're gonna probably be over there. Yeah, probably want to stand so your voice will project better. You want to stand so your voice. Go ahead and stand for the project. He said you have to stand.
My doctor called. me, like Santa Claus. I'm not upset like every baby, and he has honestly been the sweetest one, like, he is such a good, oh, yeah. But they were actually, I never, thought about that before, and I'm like, I'm like, I'm not sure. You know, but you and your baby will be more than loved and supported, like God has always taken care of us. So God told me, buy that house. And I'm like, and literally my boss is like, they were shutting down the company, that's why I was having my laid off. And they pulled their salaries together to pay me for the next 60 days, just so I could have my pay stub to be closing on this house. Settlement that covered the full amount. And I was like, I was just telling Amy, I'm in this like, I've been all by myself. My kids got their own. I was like, well, we gotta look at this free house. I'm sorry, but yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, it was, I thought, unfortunately, as this word said, because he's not a man, he should not. His word is the truth and not but the truth. And he said that it's some of us that will find it. Unfortunately, as you say now, as you say, church hurt, the church, congregation, come together in his name, be doing all of what's mentioned with this week. Yeah. And it does what it wants to satisfy. And, it's more about the family with your daughter, but I thought they have anything to do with that. So beautiful that you embrace them back and how they anger towards them, realize this doesn't have anything to do with it. And, break it down. It is, and he can let you know I'm here and all the things that I will be here for and help me do and make me, things easier. So simple for, we helped them so much. And it's just about us, knowing this and knowing that our Father doesn't have anything to do with the things that tabernacle down here, as the tabernacle when it comes to evil. It's just something that we just have to hold and keep our hand in it, and know that he will get us to that. Because, who knows what experiences, unfortunately, we come up in because we know that it is so much in the wicked world.
Yes, it is.
And like, with, I don't know, you really think something, what you said, that it's trying to think about, like my spiritual mother who's watching everything, like she was like, Christy, I literally watched Satan trying to drown you and set you on fire at the same time, and I'm like, do you really know what that feels like?
Yeah, but that's how God wants to make it. It's why he did that. And they never hate the anointed to God. He hates you so much when you love God. He hates you so much.
Yeah,
But he would attack you in all kinds of ways to, do a lot of pride of anybody. Sorry, that's good. It's too cute, but I'm breaking up. Yeah. Yeah, I just read mine. I mean, God has wonderfully made that, each one of them. And I'm gonna hear it again, hear it again, and I hear it talk again, hear it close the door again, but then we don't have to go to the bed. Even though we have, the only reason why I have, because somebody called me, somebody made the list, made it over. Yes, what, he loves. Yes, he does. No, 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 there's flakes and.
Like, today, anybody have questions or anything?
So, and, you know, related to her, my aunt was about to tell y'all the last time. The other thing is my child. You know what I'm saying? Related to her. I had a hard time saying it, but I always knew that stay on God's side. I had there, but I was at the house there. I couldn't speak. Something was on, but I know the call did. So I didn't stop trying to say Jesus' name. Came out, I said, I don't know what was on, yeah, but I should get out saying Jesus' name. Come on, I got that. And I think I told, put it about 30 minutes, and it was storming and everything. Heard the praise for them, missionary to call me, and like, I know you're on the road, this and that. Drove through that storm, went past the yellow bus, was in Alabama, Mississippi, one of them. But I went past that storm, but they had a wreck. Why? But me and mine made it safe, it didn't fly. But I was about to hurt it made her back, so it didn't fly. But I was like, in the now, about walking there, the church and everything, like, supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we're God's, or, you know, women so. And they the problem, boys and talks, yes, like, mental dead and comfort too, you know. I thank God for, you know, that people more open, like I said, when you're around a lot of negative people, you don't know what they see, not right, and you have to be ready. You have to be ready for, because I did every morning. God said that. And one people gone. It'll be everything, you know, on my pray for me for this time. Because I'm finding out all the time. I say, look, God, I can say that. So he can still get me for it. Just don't let it destroy y'all soul, y'all feet. Come on, that's the only thing I said. Come on. Over my kids, you know. Anybody that has firstborn kids, not put too much stress on them. Can't say that. They're not going to do anybody. They're not going to look my baby, I feel the right way about it. But I still can't let that change who I am. I'm saying, it's only 30. People will be bearing me. I'm the other way around. So, and it's like I'm scared of the little grandchild, you know. The mother just, I take this female, you know, whatever, but at the same time, don't hurt the children. Children have to, you know, and I just want y'all to pray for my brother, get him on that cancer. He didn't have no little issue, now, or my son, that, you know, so it's all, you know. Yes, great, I'm and then you bring the baby. And very important. But with our service, I don't say, if I don't say they go, you know, it's still a hard to spot. Yeah, it's like, you find out the things, like that, like, they got to keep it out. Give me my daughter found a job, you know, you know, this, then stuff happened, that was order came back, okay. Now, from that, my 3 kids, 3 of them were born in Houston. Like y'all say, you didn't want to go to Dunbar, 2 graduated at Dunbar, 2 graduated at Cobb. My son, he's going to be, you know. You could be like, how you do this and that, I was lost. They did,
focus on God. I have some, I feel that doesn't mean, like we said, you guys say, if we're going to be like a job, they that they may be eating. That they got a problem, not eat. I've been drinking, eating, drink water, eating, drink water, from middle of grade. I feel like that's my little bag. I'm too low of grade. Okay. Give me for the day, you know, and then I give you a little. So the lady will fire. I've been very right here, and make it like, you know. And then, I'm like, wow, they had like 8 you don't look like one, you know? Yeah. Yeah, and that's what the lady is, you know, it's over there, you know, she got like so many nurses. With her kids turning on each other or dying and being killed with his brother being moved to his brother and then other things. She only had 1 kid, I think, she
had their love of
yeah, if I have to pray, but like I said, Satan is gonna steal, kill, and destroy, we have to save our baby. You can't walk this social media, but that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? It's good things, you know, it's also about God. And I just hated where I was little black children, little girls, they are like, they acting like the baddies or the little hip hop, grown women, they're kids. And like they say on Facebook, I'm talking about, like, beautiful women, you got beads and beads and nails and lash kind of stuff. That's not what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? My uncle was like, get your hand out there in the ice cream. I had my hand on my hip, you know, like, get ice. Say the word, you know, get the lead on the ground.
there's a lot of, children, poverty, abuse,
Yeah.
and, for this one, and I can feel bad about it.
Yeah,
So
so
that
that
means
means a missionary, prayer without work, we have to pray. That means
body,
everybody.
there's 2 negatives, 4 positive.
Why not that? That's good. Okay. Well, let me Christian. This is one of our, the foundational scripture, let's read this scripture. So it's coming from Isaiah 46:9 through 10. I encourage you to read the entire thing,
Yeah.
just prompt it, but read the entire thing will bless you. But I'm gonna go, to, 9 and 10, and it says, remember, God, carefully, the former things which I mean from ages past. For I am God, and there is no one else. And there is no one like me, declaring the end and the result from the beginning.
Yeah.
And from ancient times, the things which have not yet been done. Saying,
We're still recording.
my purpose
We're getting ready to
will
talk
be
about it.
established.
So we're talking.
We say again, my purpose will be established. And I will.
Get the book. I'm gonna have to hear it.
And to will.
Get the
No,
book. by the
everything-
closed door. Read whatever it may be. God's a healer. He's there.
Saying things without being in the cusp of it. But once you get into the middle, it's almost like a word, everything else goes out the window. But I encourage you to remember what God has done, even if you were a child, you went through the things that you gone through with your parents, kids, in this way, whatever it is your parents went through, the boys. But remember that God is still in the midst of that, and God's purpose will be fulfilled no matter what you have gone through in life. It becomes a testimony. You be able to sit in circles, share. If God calls you to be like a motivation speaker,
Yeah.
you can go and share those experiences, because some people are mature enough to hear these experiences, and able to receive and also take away, because that's what we sit around and talk and share these things so you can be able to take away, because I've always been the type of person I'll get something, but it don't process it until weeks later or a month later. So I'm sitting in my private personal time, and then I remember something. And even when I'm going through whatever I'm going through, it gives me strength. Because it's God, people say all day long, because I know I said concerning you, how strong you are. in reality, your strength only comes from God. And it cannot come, it's not coming from you. You can be strong within the fear, but it's going to, but I can come in here with very, when I'm very. So that's what I'm saying, you can come in here and provide, do good, and bring everybody, bring them good, talk, I speak, I word, I sharing, self-presentation. So that's what we like to do, we like to present. But now it's time to be transparent, because you're in a setting with people that are going through stuff.
Yeah.
Some people are not comfortable enough sharing with people they don't know half the people. They come here, they come on invites. A lot of people, we don't know each other, different people that come. Each and every time we had this community going, different people that come every time. So I just pray that you read through all the scriptures that are the foundation scriptures that are on the slide, read, I said, pray, because I tell you, even when we leave here, what God has done today, I promise you, the enemy is gonna be at our heels.
Yeah.
I'm facing a trial on every side, like, oh, God, hard pressed.
Yeah.
But I thank you, God,
Yeah.
so much. Mental breakdown for 3 years. I had a mental breakdown, 3 years, like, there was so much debt. It didn't cause me to have a mental breakdown 3 years. And I promise you, nobody knew, because again, I can for sure, somebody shared, she shared, that you can't discuss and talk about it in front of people, especially in Black families.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with you, girl. And so I didn't say anything, I couldn't do myself, I mean, if anybody was around me, I was going to guard things. And so I'll never forget, I had stopped going to church, but I continued to send my children to church. Not that I was, because I can't ever say that I was mad or angry at God, but I never was, I can't say that. But it was just a lot of things that I didn't understand, my faith was being challenged, because I'm looking at different things that I was taught, even though I didn't believe in the existence of God. And I would have never said that, because my family was crucified and with Jesus. And so I did not say that I didn't believe in God, it was private, personally to somebody told me. So I'll never forget, I can't get one time God had ordained me for me to go one time and visit my aunt's church that my kids were going to. And this guy, I didn't know this guy, that's before he called me up there. Like, and I talked to him, I was like, so then I said, okay, and he was like, sister, so God said, if you be faithful to him, he would heal you from this. And even before I got an opportunity to accelerate and say I was parents of family church, I was like, oh, everybody don't know I know it. But then at that very moment, I just go out and cry and humble myself, because I'm like, it exists of God. How would I do that? But I tell you, from that moment, it was like 2006 or 7. From that moment, I ran into Jesus. And I was like, nobody can tell me that God is not real. Anything that you speak with God, sure, God will reveal to you. Another story, I was again questioning God, and by this time I was saved, and I'll never forget, I had an auntie, her and I were not mentioned. She invited me to where she was preaching, she was evangelist. And she said, I want you to come here, and I was like, I don't know. So I thought that God. And so I remember in my private time, I was like, okay, God, you are real. I want to hear A, B, C, D, and I wanted to come from A, B, C, D. So I didn't think anything, you just throw out things and just say things.
Fleecing them.
Huh?
He was fleecing them.
Yeah, yeah, oh, that's a good one. I was sleeping. This church is our minister, and she began to preach. She called me up, and at first I was going, I'm like, so I was like, because we were not in a good place, not in a good place. So she called me up, everything private that I said to God. So, and she even went to the details that God had heard from. Man, at that point, I was like, I'm gonna question him. God is real, he is. And I'm telling you, just because things don't happen the way it should happen, don't have a typical. Just trust God with the process.
Yeah.
Just because if you praying for this, if you get that, trust him, because again, he said he would declare the end from the beginning. And he will get his purpose. There's nobody that can control God. He doesn't know how he wants to do it when he's time. You know what he's time. So I trust them. If we can trust our mom, our dad, our children, our husband, we can trust God. Because one thing about it, he never stayed around, he would never fail. So,
They did the other one.
hold on, come on now.
Yeah, that's like, that's fun.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So listen, so far, this has truly been blessing me, and when I tell you that God is even here. The deep wounds, the hurts, the traumas, the things that we don't want to talk about, God said that He's here to heal you now.
Great.
I can leave the same way you came. God says, I'm here to heal you now. He said, I'm here to heal your soul.
Come on.
Some things people have buried under the rug and they said, I don't talk about it. Like to talk about memory. I don't want to bring up the memory of it because it's too hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
But God says that I am here. I'm meeting you right where you're at. So wherever you say God is here, He has His hand out.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
And He said, will you accept my invitation to allow me to heal you? Because God said that my healing and my loved ones speak for you. And when I heal you, God said that I'm breaking off the chains that the devil tried to bind.
Yeah.
So He says, you're going out there free. And God says, not only am I freeing you, but I want to free you in your mind, your soul, and your spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like this young lady right here, what's your name? Kristen. I enjoyed you because I've been through the exact same thing we went through. Church hurt. I wrote the book.
Come on.
So I'm an apologist, so I don't say everything. But God had me to write the book and I want to give you this book. Because a lot of us, we don't want to talk about the story of Tamar. Because
Yeah.
Tamar was assaulted and what happened? David the king was tried to hide. So it brought on shame, rejection. What did Tamar go through? Tamar went through all of that. She bring her garment, everything.
Come on.
So then the brother did what he ended up killing the other brother because of the rape.
Right.
So God is gonna fight for you. And so the same thing happened to me with my daughter. I went to the people too, and they said, please don't call the police, don't say nothing. Well, me as a mom, I had my gun though, because I didn't play about my kid, okay? This was I had to deliver me, but then had to feel the anger about that.
Come on.
I had to deliver me straight. Because if you mess with my child, it's on the pop, and now I'm a bear. So God had to deliver me, just like my son got hit by a drone trying to get hit twice. The guy came to my house, described the hit. All I saw was the gun on my shelf. And I'm gonna tell you, the Holy Ghost hid that gun, because if I would have got that gun, I would have killed that man. Because of the hurt that he brought to my child. Okay, now you hurt my child, now I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
But God has to heal me. He said, even in the midst of your trauma, Renee, write the book.
Come on.
So I wrote the book. So this book is, and I'm not tooting no horn or anything. I'm not trying to advertise it, but it talks about, the Tamar, the trigger, the sexual trauma. You know, when you go to the pastor, they talk about the church hurt, how God want to heal from the church hurt. So all of it is in here, the abuse, the single fathers being locked up in prison. My son just got out of prison 5 years ago. He's our church musician.
Wow.
Along the crowd. I was ashamed. Because I'm like, here, Lord, I'm traveling all the way around the world. Got churches in Africa and I can't even handle my own son.
Wow.
I'm all the way in Africa preaching. I get a phone call, your son has been detained. So I can't come home. I'm in Africa. But he's calling me, Mama, I need a lawyer. I'm getting a lawyer, but the lawyer keep failing. Because God said, no, I have to sit him down, he's gonna go down. So God had to deliver me from the shame. Because a lot of parents, a lot of us, we raise our children, we feel ashamed because of how they end up going a different route. But God says, no, when you put them in my hand, and then you gonna go down. And some people in the Bible, But God has an assignment for every one of our lives, and all of us went through a trauma, all of us went through a heartache. But God says, I'm gonna give you beauty for ashes, and what you went through is gonna become lemonade, because it's gonna do what? You're gonna pour into somebody else. And because of you, young lady, because of what you went through with your son, God says he's gonna give you a healing ministry.
Wow.
You're gonna turn around and you're gonna help those that have experienced trauma, grief, and loss, says the Lord.
Wow.
Because the enemy's trying to take you out in your mind. They can't out of my shot. Even in your mind, the enemy's trying to torment you in your mind about your son. Had I not been there, what could I have done? Lord, parents that have experienced trauma and losing their child. God is gonna use you. Your mouth has become a mouthpiece. And God says, I'm calling you back. Your anointing is. Yeah.
Then for yoga, I said that thing, that church,
Yeah.
it,
That's why I tell you a story. God is gonna get you. God's gonna give you. But God says, I'm calling you back to the church. God says the hurt, the rejection, the disappointment, and the wine, Lord, why me? Why did it happen to me? Yeah, why did it happen to my family? God says, I'm using all of that you've been through. And God says, I'm getting ready to thrust you out. You're not high time. Yeah. You're not forgetting. You're still God said, it's your seed to break out. And God said, yes, I've been dealing with you in the secret places. Where God says, I'm getting ready to bring you out. Because you've been in a cave long. God said, it's time for you to come out that cave. And God said, it's time for you to confront him. Because God says, now your ministry, you have a ministry to women of healing that have been hurt, that have been abused, and that have been discarded. But God said, I'm gonna use you. You have a healing ministry. Beauty for ashes, I hear it. God said, I'm using you. So all that you've been right now, and even the books, you got it. God said, come out. Come forth. God says, I have downloaded it in your spirit, and it's time for it to come forth. And it's coming forth, even the hurt, even over that box, come out. Come out in the name of Jesus. The rejection, the abandonment of all. God says, I'm here to heal you. And God says, I'm gonna give you this Lord. And God says, when you begin to talk about it, it's not gonna hurt you more. God says, because I'm gonna heal you. And God says, even with that, to forgive even your daughter. The word to your daughter now in the name of Jesus, I come against the thought. So now that I'm getting ready to question God said, the word of your mouth is a word. God said, I can take it. May not have understood, but God says, I can take it. For the destiny and for the purpose that He has on your life. And God says, yes, you're gonna write more curriculum, curriculums on healing, how to heal the family that's been hurt, the family that's been sued. God says, yes, I'm gonna give you strength. Even in the prison, I should form you for the government. Yeah, I don't know about you. God says, I'm gonna put you for men and women, great men and women, and you're gonna help even in the church. God says, yes, I'm sending you back to the church. I'm sending you back to the church. Back to the sword in your hand. You're gonna come back with the why and the know how. You're gonna write that curriculum. Oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Amen. So that concludes our show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to Keeping the Faith. We love you. Look at my glasses. This girl looking good, y'all. I'm gonna see her from head to toe. I'm ashamed. Oh, I couldn't say what I was gonna say. Thanks.